Welcome back to the Short Round Podcast. This week, I am pleased to be joined by a PBR Canada Finals qualifier, a CFR qualifier, Wrangler National Finals Rodeo qualifier, a PBR World Finals qualifier, two-time Canadian champion, Jared Parsonage. My friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it seems like every year your list of accolades gets longer and longer. You're coming into your wily old veteran part of your career.
Yeah, I'm in that part probably, I would say. Yeah. Yeah,
Right
it's
on.
definitely for sure. It's been good.
Cool, man. Well, I kind of want to jump back. I think a lot of people are kind of wondering how you're doing. Obviously, last and then at the end of last year, had a gnarly wreck up there in Grand Prairie, and we're unable to compete at the CFR and the PBR Canada finals. But how are things going? How's recovery? How are you feeling?
Oh, good. Yeah, really good. Totally back to normal. Been back to normal probably for a month or so,
Oh, okay.
kind of thing. Yeah, it was bad timing, but that's the game we play. I've been pretty fortunate my whole career. I don't think ever missed anything like that before. Like I said,
Mhm.
timing couldn't have been much worse, but that's part of the game sometimes. It's been a pretty good little stretch. So no, 2 3 months healed up, good to go.
Right on. So what exactly happened for those maybe who didn't hear what went down or have been wondering? You collapsed the lung, I think, was part of what happened.
No, not really. Both kind of
Oh,
stepped out
okay.
my chest, and then he ended up he lacerated both lungs. The right one ended
Oh
up getting
shit.
lacerated worse, and then there was some blood in there. They had to let off. Kept in the hospital 3 4 days. Ended up cracking a couple of ribs and a bone in my back, and nothing. Once they figured out what was wrong, nothing too serious. Just a little time will fix her up.
Fair enough, man. Well, I mean, and aside from the obvious part of all that, like missing the finals and whatever, like you say it's part of the game, but at this point in your career, like what goes through your mind in that situation? Like, are you like wondering if that's the end of the line, or you knowing you're gonna be able to be back, or what's like? It's obviously too with the family in the game, like it's such a different aspect from back when we were 18, 19 years old.
Oh yeah, it's a big change. It's hard. That's probably the hardest part for me. I got a lot of stuff outside of bull riding on the go.
Mhm.
Family being first of all, and then a lot of stuff outside of that going on. So you wonder that time of year, especially, it's all mostly revolves around the cattle business. So you wonder how you're going to get it all done and stuff. And yeah, getting hurt, you gotta, I don't know, back a few years ago, you didn't really have anything else that mattered too much. Now I have a tough time getting too
Mhm.
motivated for bull riding or caring to go bull riding and
Yeah.
worrying about everything else.
What's this year look like for you then? How are you staying motivated? Are you gonna hit it pretty hard or kind of same old deal, push for a CFR? What's the plan?
Oh, I think we'll see. I haven't really got there too far yet. It's going to be pretty limited, I think would be
Yeah.
the best way to put it. It's going to be last year was pretty limited compared to the
Hmm.
years before. I think I don't know if I went to 25 rodeos and probably maybe 20 bull rides, if that. And
Hmm.
I would think this year will be very similar, maybe
I,
less. We'll
I
see.
guess with the evolution of like how bull riding and rodeo has came in Canada over the past 3, 4 years, the amount of money that's out there, like you really just kind of for a guy like you who rides so consistent, like you really just need to get your count and make some rides those big events, and you're pretty much locked in for any finals you want to go to, anyways.
Yeah, and then you get in the big, yeah, that's where lots of the money is. You get to the finals, obviously, but these regular season between the tour rodeos and then the cup events and the PBRs, the regular season, you can go on a pretty limited schedule if you can manage to maintain some consistency and win a lot of money and not put much into winning it. Your expenses are minimal. I think that's
Mhm.
one of the hardest things it's gotten for. I'm glad I finally talked myself into doing it, going south, but like as being a Canadian bull rider, it's pretty hard to leave Canada in a lot of ways. The picking's pretty good. The travel's pretty limited. It's a good time of year, and then your expenses are not a lot, and you can win a lot of money pretty easy.
What's wild, like you look at a guy like Nick Tetz, like he won almost $300,000 just rodeoing and bull riding in Canada last year. Like that's
Yeah,
unheard of over the last however many years. Like compared to
yeah.
back when you started going, man, like what was your best year in your first handful of CFRs? Like it doesn't even compare.
Oh no, it's not even close. And like both things have grown so much. I think when
Mhm.
I first started going on, there might have been like 10 tour rodeos. I don't remember. It was like the Twisted Tea thing or whatever. There was like
Right, yeah, yeah.
8 9 10 something like that. Now there's like 17, and then between everything else and the bull ridings and everything, it's way different. Like I used to, I don't know, if it had 10,000 added, you went nuts to go to it, and now if
Yeah.
it has 10,000 added, you're just like, well, I can go.
Yeah, you can afford to miss those ones, and I
You can
mean,
afford to miss some of those, yeah.
yeah, and like we were talking before, if you're consistent and just you're making rides at these big rodeos, it's easy to pile up the cash. Like again, Nick last year, or not, 2023, he won like 20,000 just out of Pinoca alone, which is kind of that threshold that
Oh
is
yeah,
set, like unofficial threshold that's set by most events to get you to the CFR.
totally. Yeah, and there's lots of these rodeos through the year. Like said, get them at the tour rodeos through the year. Shoot, you have 30, 40,000 on.
That's crazy. And then going into the CFR, like it's obviously the money goes up every year and pays big money. Like you guy can have a really good time and good year just staying at home and picking away.
Oh yeah, like the first year I made the NFR in 2022, had a good year up here. I think I was just a few bucks shy of 60,000 in the
Yeah,
regular season
that's
up
wild.
here, and I think that was 23 or four rodeos or something like that.
Yeah.
You can win lots of money at them.
So I want to go back to those times when you're chasing the NFR. So obviously 2022, big year, you made some big rides and qualified for the NFR, but obviously and the NFR didn't go quite as what you wanted, but what was that year like chasing it and when did you kind of think you had a shot of actually getting inside the top 15?
That's a funny way that goes. 2021 obviously was good. And then it kind of gave me a chance to go to some winter rodeos. Went through some winter rodeos because there was nothing really going on up here
Hmm.
at all at that time. Still coming out of all the nonsense that was going on. Went down there, won a little bit in the winter, not a lot, and then started winning. I think everything up here that spring as it went
Yeah.
on and got through Pinoca and through Calgary, and it's like, oh, I guess here we go, got to go.
Yeah, I got it's kind of like
Jordy's
go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
Jordan Hansen, he's always been after me to go. He's like, you have got to go now. I'm like, well, I know. So we went from there.
Right on, man. Well, and yeah, I guess going back to Calgary, like that was a huge win, obviously a big day for a lot of Canadians, but for you, kind of like again, it kind of forces your hand to chase it down south. But what did that win like mean to you in kind of your long list of accomplishments you've had in your career so far?
Yeah, that was cool. That was in 23, so I was already in then
Oh yeah,
doing
sorry,
the
my bad,
NFR
my
thing
bad, my
for sure then. But
bad.
yeah, no, it was good. That's probably as a Canadian, that's probably one of the biggest bucket list ones there is Calgary Stampede. Everybody relates rodeo in Canada back to Calgary in a lot of ways, and you grow up watching it. I was always on TV. You could watch it. Everybody in the summer always watched it, and yeah, that's probably the one of the biggest checks off the bucket list for sure. It meant a lot to win that one, and it come close a couple times before that, so it was nice to get it done.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a good one to kind of check off the list and add to the trophy room for sure. So leaving the NFR 22, like I said, it wasn't your best NFR. Obviously, you hold yourself to a high standard and you can compete at that level. But what was the feeling kind of after that 10th round, and what was your looking ahead to the next year? What was kind of your process?
Oh, it was yeah, frustration for sure. I expect to do way better and then I think, but honestly, like looking back, it was maybe it wasn't all a bad thing. It gave me a lot of opportunity in 2023. If I'd have probably done really good there, I'd have probably never
Never
went
went
south
back.
again. Never went south again. So did uh, did bad there, obviously, and it was like, well, there's two ways to go about it. Lots of people get the NFR once, and it's just like, oh, you got there and something you never hear again. But you can do it twice and get back and come back off a year like that, especially in the bull riding. You don't see there's 6, 7, 8 new guys every year
Every
making that
year, it's
NFR,
crazy.
and it's kind of there's not a lot that cycle back year after year. So it's like, well, it kind of this made me mad enough. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to get back here again, and yeah, set that as a goal for 2023, and we went.
Did you find any points in 2023 season? Obviously, you won Calgary and had all the success up here, but was there any like struggle spots where you're almost like, man, I don't know if I can get back here, or was it kind of just smooth sailing the whole way through?
It was tight the whole way through. Probably the biggest struggle was in like September and stuff when nobody knew what it was going to take to make the NFR. I think what
Yeah.
I won that year to go in 11th or whatever, 12th or whatever I was going in, I'd have been like fourth or fifth in 2022. I was like, holy cow,
No
what's it
way,
going to take?
really?
Got to keep, or
Damn.
like really high up, something like that. So it's
Damn.
like, got to keep going to all these rodeos in September and stuff when you really don't want to go, but you got
Yeah.
to go and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, plucked away through the year. Kind of fell a little flat in June. Wasn't the best month. That was probably, and then kind of got going good again through July. And yeah, it turned out didn't probably have to stress that much, but it's hard to look at it and not stress. And you put that work in it all year long, you might as well make sure you get the job done. I think the worst time for me all the time when I don't think that I'll go is the winter run. I hate the winter run with a passion. Way too much
Well,
sitting around.
well, it's not, yeah, this it just seems like especially up here, like we don't have the big winter rodeos like they do down south, and get like for you too, like you're not very central to like a travel like to like a main airport, so you have to drive a few hours to
Oh,
get there, and it's so cold, and I even find myself like dragging my ass around this time of year. It's just such a tough time to be motivated, so it's like hard
yeah.
to drag your butt out of the Great White North to head down south to these big rodeos, but it helps in the long run.
Oh yeah, the hardest part for me, I can always get there and you're always doing something. It's when you're at the rodeos and spend all day sitting around. Like a
Oh
place like
yeah,
San
yeah.
Antonio or Houston, you spend all day doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs. And that's where the summer I do way better in the summer when you're busy driving or doing something. Cause all I do is sit there and think about the things I should be doing right now instead of sitting here with nothing to do.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think like a big part of it too, which maybe like I don't know, like it probably would have been like the dollar's been shitty for the last however many years in Canada, but it's got to be so hard to get down there and then you're paying an extra 30-40% for your meal or your entry fees cost a lot more. Like it's that helps it really puts added pressure to like do well while you're down there.
Oh yeah, it does for sure. I guess a guy that saved away, but I don't know. The only thing to say to that is just figure out how to win because it adds up to a lot of money in Canadian when you win.
That's true. Yeah, that's a really good point. How so moving through 2023 chasing NFR, how much help was it to have a guy like Jordy chasing it with you? Obviously, he wasn't there your first year, but you guys both made it in 23. And you guys have been traveling together for years, been really good friends, and it obviously probably helped motivate you a little bit or helped kind of had some familiarity at those rodeos down there. Or
Oh, big time. Like that was probably like our careers have obviously there's no see, I don't know how many years we've traveled together now, probably
yeah.
10 years kind of thing and kind of done everything together. Short that he's always tried to get me to come more regularly with him down there. And Jordy's had a ton of success, you know,
Mhm.
3 times there and to the NFR and everything. And yeah, it was good just like having both of us. In 2022, we were in there together and Jordy got hurt and Armstrong kind of
Mhm.
screwed that up. But it's good to like have somebody like that you get along with so good. Traveling for us is so easy together to get along. And it's, yeah, it really makes it pretty easy to go like that. And it's good to have guys that motivate you to be better, that you feel like are better than you. So
Mhm.
you know, you ride better, right? Kind of thing. And we hold each other accountable.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like having being able to have that dynamic, it obviously shows in the success you guys have both had in Canada and the US. Heading into the NFR that year, what was your mindset like? Were you a little bit nervous it was going to be a repeat of 22, or were you confident that you're going in there and going to show them what you're made of?
I don't get too caught up in any of
That's
that.
true. That's true. That's true.
I
That's
didn't really care. I just, you know, did best to be prepared for it and have a good fall through there. And, you know, things were kind of organized, ready to go. And yeah, I just did my best to be prepared for it. Probably the only really thing was I think the first round had some fluffy little right hand spinner. It was like 80 and a half,
yeah.
one spot out of the money. Exact same thing as 2022. I was like, seriously?
Come on.
How's this
Yeah.
happen?
But
But no, I didn't really sweat it at all. I knew if a guy could really, my biggest goal was be consistent. I wanted to ride,
mhm.
just shoot to ride 10 bulls, ride as many bulls as possible. Always said through my career going, if you can ride half plus one, you'll be very, very successful. So
Mhm.
obviously I wanted to ride all 10. Worst case scenario, half plus one.
Yeah. Well,
And so,
and it worked out, man. You won a ton of money down there. I can't remember the bull you rode in the last round there. You're 88. What bull was it?
flapjack,
Yeah,
H
yeah,
bull,
yeah.
flapjack.
That was an awesome ride and kind of a good way to cap off. And you ended up
Yeah.
fourth in the world after the average and everything settled in. So how was that like a refreshing feeling or kind of like the monkey off your back, like after not having the best NFR the year before? What was your feeling after that 10th round?
Oh yeah, totally. It was a whole chain of that. Like, you know, after having a bad first NFR, just to like show that, you know, it wasn't a fluke getting there. It wasn't by accident. Do it again, and then to have success there was, yeah, that was as good as any of it. And you know, it was kind of the icing on the cake because I knew that I wasn't going to try to go to a third one and stuff. So it was there was a low chance, put it that way. Never say never, but there was a pretty good chance that I wasn't going to try to go to a third one and stuff with second kid and everything else on
Yeah, yeah.
coming along. I knew that, and it was just, yeah, just like I said, right down to getting back there 2 times in a row, showing that it wasn't an accident. I got there the first time, and then that I could have success there. Yeah, it was good, really good.
Yeah, and like you said before, that American money when it gets transferred back to Canadian, it makes a big dent in a few things. Eh?
It looks pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you kind of touched on your family. Like, how special has that been over the last few years to kind of share your success and everything you've been doing in your career with your family now? Obviously, you've had a long career now and a lot of success, and having a young family is going to be a fun part of it now too.
I think so. I think that was probably after like through COVID there, all that stuff that went on. Shoot, I was almost gonna quit, to be honest with you. I was like, hell with this. I can find a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
Quit here. This riding bulls, not at all. Sucks going down south. And like being Jordy went down there and Scott Gunther, close friend Scott Gunther, he was
Hmm.
going down there and it's like, God, that just seems horrible going south like through 21 and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, had a kid there and started a family, and I've seen that and those friends too. It's almost like you spend like all these years when you're younger, it's such an individual sport and you're just all that matters is yourself, right? And you just live in this nonstop individualism that rodeo is, and it does get a little bit stagnant kind of in a way. And then when you get a family and you have kids, and I really noticed that with our first kid and stuff, you have somebody else and something more to share it with, and some more motivation because you're providing for a family now. Back when you were younger, as long as you could afford to put fuel in your truck and whatever
Yeah.
else and buy a pizza or whatever it may be, it didn't matter. But now you got a family and more responsibility. I found that at that time as a lot more, it was fun to have something bigger than just yourself and bull riding to take care of and provide for and take along and enjoy those experiences with.
Well, now, how helpful have they been for you? And in like, obviously, you got your operation down there, you got a bunch of cows and everything you got going on. They've obviously helped keep the lights on while you're on the road to some of these events. How pivotal are they in the success outside the arena, I guess you could call it?
Oh, big time. I think it's like that for any of us
Yeah.
rodeo cowboys that got a little more on the go. I'm pretty lucky with Tulsa and the kids, and they're home taking care of things, and mom and dad are right here too. And I've never really been deterred from going, kind of thing. The only one that's ever deterred me from going has been myself and stuff. So that's been good. I'm super lucky to have good family all the way around on that. Right down even my grandma and grandpa. He's 9 years old out there baling or swathing or whatever it may be. It's just, yeah, I've been lucky that way, super lucky.
How have you found it like being located where you are? Obviously, Southwest Saskatchewan. It's kind of it's good for like rodeo in Canada wise. You're really not that far from everything, but geographically, was it like hard to ever get going? Like I know when you first started going pro, or like when you first started going down south. Like how is that a big factor in motivation to go places or
Uh yeah, at times it's I guess I don't know, that's a hard one to answer
I
now
know,
because I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think of nothing of driving, jumping in the truck and driving 4 or 5 hours. It means nothing to me.
It's
It's
like
like
the
a day
same.
trip.
Like, yeah, yeah, that's
I'll
fair
come
too.
home afterwards too. Don't think
Yeah,
nothing of
yeah.
it. I think that it's different. There's good and bad things living here. Like I'm not far from like a place like Great Falls Airport or some of those places.
That's
And
fair.
always everybody like goes to like Grand Prairie or Dawson Creek and Google Map that. The distance is from here to Dawson Creek or Grand Prairie, or whatever. I can be south of Salt Lake City and I can go to a lot of rodeos in that distance in the
That's true.
States. And
Yeah, that's really true.
so yeah, there's times it's a lot of extra travel, but I don't know. It's never really bothered me. And one thing about I guess growing up in places where everything's not so convenient, you're used to
Find the way.
the extra travel and going. It's just it is what it is.
Is what it is. Cool, man. Well, like I said before, you're turning into a wily old vet on us, and it seems like the years have gone by so fast. But
Yeah.
there's a great young crew of like bull riders in Canada going right now, and so many more great events. But what's been some of the biggest changes you've noticed in your career? It's hard. I'm like having a hard time asking this question because I still feel like we're in our 20s, but we're
20s,
old.
yeah.
We're getting to
I'm
be old
third.
men now. But what's been the
Yeah.
biggest thing that's changed over the years? Like obviously that you've been around a long time and rode with some of the great Canadian bull riders and won everything you could
Mm-hmm.
win. But what are some of those things you've noticed over the years?
Well, we've already touched on the money side of it.
Mhm.
There's a great living to be made. It used to be like one or two bull riders would make a living in Canada. Now there's 10 guys that make better than average living riding bulls in
Mhm.
Canada with everything there is, let alone what the kids are making at the other stuff like the BRCs and
Oh,
stuff.
it's
You got
wild.
16, 17-year-old kids winning 40, 50,000.
Mhm.
It's wild. But I think the biggest change for me, and it's maybe blipped a little bit of the generation here in a little bit of a way, kind of through these guys that are younger than me, kind of in between. And there's some really good kids coming up, but it's made it tougher. Is the bullpen. The bullpen's changed so much. I
Mm,
remember I was around when, it was nothing to go a weekend and be 75, 76, 77. Like
hmm.
it might be that 3 times or 2 or 3 times and win some day money, and they'd ride 15 bulls, and there'd be a handful of bulls you could be 86, 87, 88 on, a bunch that were like 81, 82 pointers, and then a bunch that were like 75 to 80 pointers, and guys rode them. Like they talk about how big nobody rides any bulls anymore. And those were the layups in those days. Like that was the way it was. And I think that's made it tough, and it kind of just like crashed so fast on, I would say, like the middle, the kind of the era that's in their mid 20s kind of thing.
Hmm.
It all of a sudden changed to where these bulls buck so hard. All of a sudden that an 83, 84 pointer's got to be your layup. And you
Yeah,
might have
yeah.
went back then, you might have went 2 weekends without getting on a bull that was an 88 pointer. Now
Hmm.
you're going to get on one of those every weekend for sure. And you got to be able, the top guys be able to consistently warm them up, ride them. And if you get that 83, 84 pointer, well, that's what used to be the 76, 77
Yeah.
pointer kind of thing through. That's the thing that's changed so much in the bull riding. I think it's had effect with guys being hurt and all that stuff, but I think it's changed. The bulls change fast. They change every year. They produce new crop of bucking bulls every year. It takes quite a while for a new crop of cowboys to come along.
That's
And,
true.
and
Yeah.
I think it's kind of caught up, and there's a bunch of 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids coming along that have kind of worked more towards, the bulls are going to buck harder. It's
Hmm.
not like where they all of a sudden, holy cow, the bulls are bucking hard. They know they're bucking hard, and I think that a lot of them kids are going to see the advantage of that, and they're going to do well.
So how do we ensure those kids like take the right steps though? I know like we've all done it. Like you want to be a bull rider and you start getting on these ranked bulls when you're 15, 16, 17 and you see some guys get themselves mucked out, but like how do we ensure that these kids, this next generation kind of finds their way the right way and has long successful
Well, I think
careers?
Well, that's I think that's what kind of has hindered that, why we haven't seen a big bunch of guys in their mid 20s come along. It hasn't been the big numbers that there was, because they got in that and got on all them ranked bulls at 15,
Mhm.
16, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a lot of them. There's a lot of kids that are really good then that you heard about were going to light the world on fire, and they never even showed up, kind of thing. I
Mhm.
think they're just like, this is stupid, I quit, and stuff. Whereas like now you've seen like what Austin Beasley they're doing. There's a little crew at Maple Creek with the steer riding doing, and some of these guys have done up there, taking these kids through 14, 15, 16. There's a whole, we can name off a bunch of them we've seen now with stuff, and they're getting on the right kind of bulls through there and building confidence. Cody Custer's really pushed it on
Yeah, yeah.
social media and everywhere like that, and on Cody a little. And I think it's probably the right track. They're getting confident, staying on and doing that. Whereas like, I think like the older generation, maybe a little older than me, they went and got on lots of bulls that didn't really buck that hard. They might have been big and scary and mean and stuff. You hear all the stories, but they
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
weren't the 22.3-year old
No.
that was right in the gate, right? And
Mhm.
stuff. And I think that's changed now. They got those kids getting on bulls that are just kind of keeping them the right steps along. And some of the stuff like Tanner Gerlitz is doing it at Olds and places, and some of these young guys just maybe making the steps a little more small, little smaller steps, not
Yeah.
such, oh, wait, you want to ride bulls? You want to ride one-handed? Here's this freaking futurity cap that's going to buck so
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, exactly. You're like a 45 point futurity cap's gonna drive your head in the ground. But and it was kind of
Yeah.
similar for I mean, like for you in your career, like you moved through high school rodeo and the CCA and then obviously into the pros. But I felt like even that generation of bulls back then, we had the ones that bucked, but they were still some good ones to learn on, I feel like, to build a good
A lot of
foundation.
like, I think growing up that time, a guy got on like a lot of 76, 78 point
Hmm.
kind of bulls that were perfect, and it didn't get too fast. I think like the generation kind of after us is where it kind of got in and got going a little too fast and made it a little harder.
Yeah, fair enough. And speaking of like Tanner, what he's doing and giving back and kind of that next step in his career, like you're kind of taking that next step with for yourself. You're hosting your first year riding school here in the next month or two, I think it is. I can't remember the exact dates,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
well, excited
yeah.
for that?
Middle of March. Yeah. Looking forward to that. There's a crew of guys, Tyler Martins and Clint Moorhead, and I don't know, another 4 or 5 other guys in town here that have done, well, they've been doing it for a year, kind of every 2 or 3 weeks. They have a little steer riding practice in town here. And sometimes they get, I think the one day they had 25 kids in there just before Christmas, get lots of
Wow.
kids, more kids than cows, put it that way. But yeah, they did it. They did a school last year, been after me to do a school, and obviously last year, 2023 and stuff like that, 2024 was tough with the schedule and everything. And yeah, we got her pegged down this winter. And, you know, they pretty much laid the groundwork for it all. Anyways, I can't take any credit. I haven't done anything other than get a coach to put my name on it. So yeah, they've done all the work for it and done a great job of starting a lot of kids. There's a good crew of steer riders around here and some kids that ride really well. And, you know, it started like that. And I think it's just proper coaching. It's not just go and get on and lift on your rope and look here and hold on tight and hope it goes good. It's like actual proper coaching through all the steps. And I think it's made it a lot safer and allowed them to be a lot more successful. And I think the biggest thing, it's made it more fun.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point of it, like making it fun for these kids and like we said, not getting your head drove into the ground, matching them up with the right stock. Like that's what's going to help build the next
Yeah,
generation. I think that goes across the board for all the events when it comes to bareback riding, saddlebronc riding. If you can make it fun,
totally.
you're going to have a whole fresh crop of people come through who really enjoy it.
Fun and as safe as possible kind of
Yeah.
thing. You know, it's always going to be dangerous, but if you can prepare them the best you can, it's probably as safe as it's going to get. You give them the best chance to be successful.
Are you nervous to host your first school, or what are you like? What's the how you feeling going into
No,
it?
nah. I've been around a little bit of them done a couple like with Tanner, and then I was when the Ty and Haley Elliott did like the small
Oh
spurs
yeah.
schools there, and I've actually done a couple little ones, and it'd be 2 or 3 years ago at Maple Creek, just like for the local kids kind of thing and stuff like that. It's all pretty basic. The hardest part to tell them, they ask you how to ride steers, and I don't know how to tell them that I was a horrible steer rider. So gotta be honest with them, I couldn't do it myself. So do as I say, not as I did, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Not gonna be pulling up any old videos from the archives from back in the day.
Yeah, don't watch those. Yeah. But
Right
no,
on,
it'll be
man.
good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and how many kids do you have coming for it? Like I think
They
it sold out pretty quick, hey?
Yeah, I think within a couple hours. They kind of offered it to the kids that were doing
Oh,
like
okay.
part of the steer riding group in town here, what there was, and I think they're 25, taking 25, and I think they got a big alternate list too. So it's filled up right away, which is good. I don't think it matters where it is. There's lots of interest in it right now. All these steer riding, bull riding, junior bull riding, whatever it is, schools have seemed to fill up really, really fast, which is good.
Yeah, and even at the end of the day, like if these kids don't turn out to be rodeo cowboys, like if they just have an interest in the sport and get involved in different ways, like there's so many different aspects a person can be involved with rodeo nowadays, like putting on events or
Oh
the
yeah,
media side of things or whatever it may be, announcing bullfighting, anything. Like it's if we can just
yes.
draw more interest, the better off we're going to be.
Keep them interested in the sport.
Yeah.
Big part of it. And yeah, like in town here, they buck a few horses, having a little saddlebronc bareback group too that goes every couple weeks, kind of thing, separate, and you know, same kind of thing, just trying to get these kids going and give them a chance to do good at it and as good an environment as possible. And I think, you know, who knows, it might be saddlebronc riders, bareback riders, team ropers, calf ropers, music director. It just keeps them involved in the sport. Not everybody is going to be, just because you're a steer rider doesn't mean you have to be a bull rider. There's a ton of options out there, but they're involved in the sport.
So I don't know if this is going to be like jumping the gun too much on this question, but obviously you're slowing down your career and probably looking at what's next. So like, what's obviously the ranching and cow aspect is going to be a big part of it, but are you going to try and stay involved with the sport, obviously through schools, or are we going to see a Jared Parsonage Invitational happen anytime soon? What's that look like?
I don't know. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I think I'll be that guy that disappears. You'll never hear from me again. And then I think I like people too much to do that. I'll probably be involved in some aspect. I don't know what it'll be. Kick around a little. Probably not a ton though.
Mhm.
It's not the most convenient place to stay. Living out here is not the most convenient place to stay super involved with it.
Fair
But if
enough.
there's kids wanting to ride steers and something close, and I don't know what, it may be something. I haven't got too far in that. Like I said, sometimes I think I'll be the guy that disappears. You never hear nothing from me again, which might be a little bit that way, but
We'll track you
I'll
down
be
somehow,
around.
man. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'll be around a little bit.
Would you ever like crack back out in the team roping and try and make a CFR that aspect, or is that's too much?
That's too much. The team opens. I would have to spend about 8 years practicing, 10 years
Oh, come
practicing
on, man.
again. The
You're
team
ready.
roping. No, I think the team roping, I think, is one of the coolest events that's come along since it's
Hmm.
gotten, or like the progressions it's made since it first got into CFR. You know, the Murray Linthicum, Dwight Wigmeyer, Rocky Dallin days, how it's progressed to what it is now, and I've really seen it in my career. These young guys in the team roping,
They're
it's no
crazy,
place for a
man.
guy like me to crazy
Yeah,
kid.
fair
So
enough, fair
yeah,
enough.
it's best watched.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, you got these young
It's
kids that are crazy, like Cavis Drake and Denim. What they did at the
mm-hmm.
CFR last year was amazing to
Yeah,
watch.
and
Like
they're
it's,
just kids.
yeah,
And
it's
there's
crazy.
like, the Bonnets, and there's
McLeod
Logan
boys
Spady,
are kicking
McLeod boys.
ass. Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of them. These young guys have really elevated the game of team roping here. And I think probably Jeremy and Levi kickstarted it there a little bit through
Hmm.
in 2016, but in the last 10 years, yeah, the team roping game has elevated big time up here.
It goes to show like how we can influence like guys like you and Jordy and Jerry and Zeke and all these guys who chase it down south can like motivate another generation of people. Like without people seeing that it can be done, especially in Canada, I think it's like kind of anywhere. Like without people seeing it, like, hey, someone that I know I grew up with, or someone that grew up from my area can go and do this. Like I can go and do that. Like there's a huge aspect I think that gets overlooked in that kind of
Yeah,
space.
and I think that's yeah, I agree totally. And like these kids see it. I guess everything is so much more accessible nowadays. Like
Hmm.
everything's on your phone. We're doing this on a phone basically. So it's all like with the Cowboy Channel and whatever it may be, all these different streaming devices, streaming ways, and TV and whatever else. These kids are all watching it so much, and it's so easily for them to see and follow. And the videos that are created and on social media, they're pretty cool. And a lot of that stuff that's in the last few years that's gone on, and
Hmm.
I think it's opened it up. These kids we'd see these kids, these local kids, see them around, and just another average guy is all we are. We're just another average guy, but it just lets them see what there is, opportunities that lie out there beyond home, kind of thing. And if they want to really work on it, and it's just elevated the game and elevated the opportunity.
Yeah, like you say, especially for those small town kids, like if they see a kid from Maple Creek can go and make the NFR and have
Yeah,
success, like who's saying what I can't do? Like
yeah,
it's a cool
there's
thing to think about growing up in like small town Saskatchewan, like the world's big
totally
out there and accessible for all of us.
easily there's if you want to put your head down and get to work, there's no telling what you can accomplish.
Well, and another guy who's from Maple Creek, who he's your neighbor, Coulter Wall, has had a lot of success over the years. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna be
he's had a
pretty
lot of
cool. Like
success.
have it, yeah, it's crazy. Like he's so like nonchalant about everything about it and like about being famous, but he's like one of the most famous people that I know.
I was gonna say we all think everybody thinks we're popular, or look at these guys are popular. It's nothing. They just creep his Instagram and see the
Oh, it's
following. Like the guy's
crazy,
just a
man.
the guy's just a sellout everywhere he goes. But you'd never guess that if you seen him in person,
No, it's
which is
crazy.
cool. I think that's probably the best part. And he's made it like you seen him on some of the probably clips of Dale Brisby's podcast that
Yeah.
he put on there that he doesn't care about the award shows and stuff like that.
No.
And it's all the credit to him. Tell the truth. He doesn't. I don't think he really cares if he is famous or not famous. He's just
No.
happy, enjoys doing it, and enjoys the stuff that he's built around it, and whatever else. I don't think it's he stayed true to who he is and what he is and what he wants to be, and hasn't gone and followed the script or
No, it's
acted the part. It's
crazy.
just been good old Coulter, and that's the best way to go
That's
about
makes
it.
him
I think
awesome. Yeah, and
I got a lot of respect for him to sticking with it like that, and especially in what he's in. Like it's that the publicity and the fame is like huge, big, and he's just whatever. Like I said, I got a lot of respect for it, and it's pretty cool.
it's easy to get caught up in that. Like there's you see people get famous fast and crash and burn, but yeah, he's kind of stayed true to himself and his roots, and it's showing in like how much success he's having in Canada and the US. It's wild to me just
Mm-hmm.
how like
Big
that's how
time,
like
yeah.
every famous person should be. Like just doesn't let go to his head. He just does what he needs to do and loves playing his music and is a good guy. Like it's a
Well,
huge
they
thing.
can't all be that way. It'd be boring, and there wouldn't be
Yeah,
all
that's
these
true.
good
That's true.
scandals and everything.
That's
Just your
fair.
friends got
Yeah.
to yeah, just your
Yeah.
friends got to be that way. The rest, they got to be some for some entertainment aspect
Yeah.
out there.
That's fair. So has he been gonna be giving you any guitar lessons or anything, or are you gonna do some cowboy
No,
songs for us anytime soon?
no, I'm just strictly a listener.
Oh wow, that's
Listen, yeah,
great.
he's pretty impressive on it. The way he can catch him somewhere else, somewhere where he's not playing, where he's big and famous. Some guys are full pro.
Yeah, that's really cool. So like I said before, you've had a long career and rode with some of the greatest in Canada and ever in bull riding. Who are some of the guys who've had the biggest influence on your career and kind of helped you get to the point you're at now?
Oh, there's been lots through there. I had probably an unorthodox way of coming along in
Hmm.
this. Nobody really knew who I was at all too much, and got lucky. Got uh, drug out by my neighbor here, William Barback, drug me out and kind of made me go, and he steer us in CFR and all over and kind of got it going. And then there was always like the guys, and he knew everybody, which was lucky. He got to know all those guys, Tyler, the Tyler Thompsons, the Chad Bestbooks, Ty Elliott, Tanner Gerlitz, all them. And Jordy was the biggest one, as it turned out. And that crew, he was running with that crew, and they kind of sent us on our way and set it all up and stuff. And Scott Shifter and Bo Hill and all those, and lots of those guys through the years have had a big, and stayed close friends with those guys. They've had a big influence on it all. But I think on the end of the day, my bull ride, and I think probably looking back, and I've said it lots on podcasts and everything. I always watch Bo Hill. I've watched, I don't know how many million Bo Hill videos I've watched, and it was always the coolest thing when all of a sudden you become friends and you
Yeah.
still text every now and then and talk. And it was like, I don't know, a lot of people won't remember the old Hell on Hooves.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
the video of the
yeah.
Hell on Hooves they had going. Watched all those clips when I was a kid. Those were like 2009, 2010.
Man,
Watched
we
all
got to
those,
bring
and
those back. Those were such good
yeah, those are
shows.
good. And then got to know and be friends with those guys. And yeah, like Bo, I think, I don't know how many videos I watched of Bo. I always figured if that long, tall, gangly human being could ride bulls so good, there's no reason I couldn't figure out how to do it, because very similar build, and he's taller than I am, but
Hmm.
unreal successful. And yeah, I was just thought ride him like Bo does, because he rides lots of them, so figure it out.
Do you remember the point when you kind of felt like accepted by those guys? Obviously, you get nervous like the first time you start hanging around guys who are your heroes, and you feel like maybe you have something to prove to them, maybe for them to like bring you into their inner circle. But do you remember that moment when those guys kind of like
Uh
really brought you under?
kind of, yeah, kind of through that. I think it was 2014. I was going, and then went and then kind of got to know all those guys, and was coming into the middle of summer, and he wasn't going too much. And I kind of knew Ty Elliott through like some family connections out here.
Mhm.
His family, a bunch of his family's from Maple Creek, and knew him a little bit. And Tanner kind of knew, Gerlitz kind of knew him a little bit. Everybody knew Tanner a little. And then, yeah, just kind of got connected through there, and then got the opportunity to jump in with him that summer.
Mhm.
I got hurt that summer, kind of screwed it all up. But yeah, I got to go with him and got to know him good and stuff. And I think probably the biggest thing I didn't know a lot of them is they put emphasis on, and they put more pressure on you to ride good, to figure out how to do good, because the good guys will take you in if you are a good person and you ride good and you're easy to be
Mhm.
around. It's no secret, and that's something you realize as you got older in your career. The good guys will take you in if you just keep your mouth shut and do a good job and ride bulls good, and take care of business. Right? It's easy for you to fit in with those, and I was lucky, and they took me along, and then kind of set it up for me and Jordy to hit the road together. They were all close to retired, and
Mhm.
me and Jordy were the same age, and away we went. Jordy and Adam Jameson, Scott
Oh yeah.
Schiffner had a lot to do with that. I think that's probably one of the best bull riders there's been up here that got hurt early on. Adam, he
Yeah,
could
JMO was
he
great,
could stomp
man.
him. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, big time. And no, we had me and Jordy and Adam went there. It was 2015 all through that summer and fall. Went down to the States quite a bit, and Adam came, and yeah, he's for real. Adam was for real, and
Yeah.
it was a good crew. I really wish that he could have had as long a career as I had, because I might have won less.
Yeah, he was so talented, that guy, man. I've seen him make, I remember seeing him make some really, really great bull rides. Yeah, it's too bad he got cut short
Yeah.
there. Um, so obviously some of those guys are legends of the sport. So you got the Tylers and the Tanners and Scott and Chad and all them boys. But do you have any like funny memories from the road, or a story that you can think of right off the top of your head that we could share with about those guys? Obviously there's a ton, but
I'm not the best at these. I know there is a ton of them. I always forget them all the time, but I never. I always. I think it was the one year hanging out with Bo Hill. It was first year I got into Houston. It was 2016, and Ben was with Houston and San Antonio, and we're also Tucson. We're at Tucson, so we spent time in Arizona with Bo, and it just always amazed me at a day off how many Michelob Ultras Bo Hill could drink and not change one bit.
damn,
Drink those. He always said they're like water. Yeah, yeah, just like water, and he just sweat them out and carry on.
damn. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's some people compare to drinking water, but either way, that's no
Yeah,
small
yeah, he is
feat.
used to it. Yeah, yeah, we'd have a day off, and yeah. we just hung out, and yeah, he has amazed me. He was good at drinking Michelob, still is, I'm sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get. I'm sure if he listens to this, you'll get a text from him being like, "Yeah, he'll
Yeah,
send you a video or something."
no,
Um,
I don't know. The list is too long. Had a lot of fun
yeah,
along the lines,
it's been a
and
long
seeing a
time,
lot of
man.
things.
It's
Yeah, no,
crazy.
it's
I
been
like
good.
sitting here thinking about it, you don't realize it. Like you're talking about 2014 and 15. That's damn 10 years ago
Ten
now. It's
years ago now.
crazy.
Yeah, time goes by fast.
Oh, it's wild. So kind of building off of that, obviously you've made some big rides in your career and some huge moments, but what are some of the rides that stand out over the past 10 years? One for me, I'll maybe give you something to go off of. When you rode Chiseled in 23, when you were 92 on him, somewhere in Montana, just before the NFR,
Hmm.
that's one of my favorite rides I've seen you make.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Probably one of the ones that really stands out to me though is as being a kid that really like set my career off on they could just kind of make a statement is when I rode proper ripped at my first CFR in the
Oh
first round
yeah.
and won the first round because that bull
That bull
everybody's
was
a little bit
bad dude for a long time.
yeah everybody's a little bit scared of that bull in a way just the way he sling his head and push back he claimed a few victims that's for sure a lot of victims and I think probably rode him first round my first CFR and won that and that kind of was really just like one of those things that kind of sets you on your way
So
kind of deal and
when you had that bull drawn that day, what was going through your mind? Were you a little bit nervous, or were you confident you could get him snapped, or what was going on? I like breaking down these moments and these big rides with
I
people.
guarantee when the draw came out the night before, I was pretty nervous. Through the day, I was like, "Holy shit, you're in her you're in her big time now.
No backing
You're
out
in one,
now.
yeah, no
Right on.
backing
So
out. Yeah, that's probably one of the ones that really stands out.
mhm. And then kind of taking that one step further, like obviously we talked about winning the Calgary Stampede and Canada and all these big rodeos, but is there a win that stands out maybe a little bit more than others? And it doesn't have to be a bull ride. I know you've won the Guy Weedick
Mm,
Award and Cowboys of the Year all over the place, but kind of
yeah, I don't know. Uh yeah, I don't know if there really is one that totally stands out above the rest. There's been lots of them along the way. I think they're all pretty special in their own way. Probably, I think one that really like I had quite a bit of like 2018 and 19. I was probably as good a bull rider as I had ever been in my career at that time.
hmm
And 2019 was a successful year, and went to the PBR finals and did that, and obviously didn't. It rode lots of bulls. The
yeah.
second part didn't go as good, and that's fine. That it was a good experience. But I look back on that, and then COVID hit, and when before that, I kind of was riding everything to 2020, and felt like you're 26, 27 years old, 25, 26. You're at the peak of your
hmm
career at that age where you're at the peak. You're old enough to know how to win, young enough to be able to win, and all that stuff. And then COVID hit, and I think it really hit pretty stagnant all the way everything went through all that. And I didn't want to go away and go down there, stuff at home. And I think like 2021, going through that and winning a Canadian title in 2021 is probably what really like revamped my career in a lot of ways
hmm
because I was pretty stagnant after those couple of years through there. Not didn't have much interest in it. I
It's
won't even
tough
lie.
when you're not
I
going,
had next to
man.
no. No,
It's
you're not going. And then you'd go every once a month and get on 3 or 4 bulls a week and be so sore for 2 weeks. It's not even
yeah.
funny. And it wasn't fun and had no interest. And then got some other stuff on the go because you can't sit there for 2 years and
hmm
there's others, life's got to go on. So I had gathered up some other stuff on the go and then won that Canadian title in 2021. And I think like through this last part of my career, that really kickstarted it again and got the fire back burning big time and away it went from there.
So how have you stayed like up to the task or stayed current like out of the arena? Obviously, that game's changed so much too now in our lifetime, rodeo lifetime of how people take care of themselves outside the arena. So how has that part of it evolved for you?
Oh,
Are you
I'm like
are
I
you on the
got that.
JB? Are you on the JB Mooney routine?
Oh no, not that heavy, not that. But I'm lucky that I got a built-in. I got lots of stuff to keep me active outside of rodeo built in.
Yeah.
I have enough time finding some spring and fall and stuff like that. It's hard to find enough hours in the day, so it's kind of I'm lucky to have that built in through the winter and stuff. The guy stays on with that. You got to do. It's pretty quiet and everything. So through the winter, not that. But I'm not a worker out or anything. Been lucky just to be kind of a naturally skinny guy. Yes,
Yeah,
fit. I
fair.
don't know what do you want to call it, but yeah, I'm lucky that I don't know. I always laugh at the guys. They work out. They had a show, or I'm not a big social media guy, but they post on post on their social media how hard they've been working out and this and that. And then they spend the rest of the day laying on the couch playing video games. I'm like, well, that totally contradicts
Defeats the
just the workout.
purpose.
Of course, you got to work out because you've been laying around the rest of the day. So yeah, I always thought there's always two sides of it. I think it's good though. It's great how that's coming. It's like for the young people, it's probably the steps our sports needed to get to that, like treating it more like with the acumen and what they've done and whatever the champion living down south, whatever all that stuff is done is to truly become a professional sport. You got to treat it like a professional sport. And I think that's the steps that are needed to go for the young people. They need to get at her and keep at her. And if you treat it like one and like the rest of these professional sports, there's a real, really, really good living to be made. So, you know, it's something that just keeps making it better.
This is something like I've always admired about you, just like how calm and cool and collected you always seem to be. It's been that way since we were kids, like it hasn't changed. But I want to know how you've developed that mental fortitude or developed that your kind of your mental strength that you have moving through your career. Like what have you done, or was it just something that's always been there for you?
I don't know, really know nothing really, I guess. I've never done anything. I guess that's just how I am. Yeah, I've never done anything. Always just kind of been that way. I think a lot of raised that way in a lot of ways. Just, you know, you got a job to do. It's not a big deal. Get out there and get the job done, whether it be riding bulls or, you know, fixing your truck or whatever it be. That's your job. It's not a big production. It doesn't have to be a big production. Make a big stink about it. You're a bull rider. If you're going to be a bull rider, ride bulls. That's end of story. It doesn't have to be this big, long drawn out thing. So I've always had that attitude about it. I've wanted to be a bull rider. I know the risks that are involved with riding bulls. You show up there, ride bulls. I don't need to make this big production or tell her, you know, make a big deal of it. Just be there and ride bulls. That's your job.
Simple, man. It's like that's the way to do it. Are you playing in the Battle of Little Big Puck next month?
Oh, probably. I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably.
was it
Funny. That's been around, but always like with the rodeo and everything, the winter, it always falls right in the middle. I think like San Antonio and there. So I played in it there in like 19 or 2021 or something. Maybe 2021 they had again. I played there, but I've only played in it once, maybe in the last 10 years.
Dang. You still play hockey?
Summer.
Or did you play a little bit over throughout the winter while you're home?
Yeah, playing. I've been playing the way out of the rec team in Maple Creek. Maple Creek's got last couple of years played a lot actually.
Nice.
Maple Creek's got a good little rec team set up. They got 3 teams there, and you play once or twice a week and have ice and a couple periods in flood, and then they talked me into playing senior hockey here the other day.
No way, really?
There's nothing. Only a couple staying up here is only a couple bull rides in the winter, so something to stay competitive. Something
yeah,
competitive.
I guess keeps that edge going. Have you played any games yet?
Yeah, 3. Yeah, they
Nice.
just talked me into it the other day.
You lighting it up or what?
No, shoot, no, just take out space. There's it's a good way to stay in shape too. I always thought like enjoy the skating, something different. It's good, something I really enjoy to do, and it's a good way to stay in shape, good shape, and it's
good for the cardio. Like, because like running and stuff is like so annoying, but if you go for a skate, it's a little bit more fun.
And it seems like it snows and the wind blows every day here, so you're not doing that. And no. Like I said, I really enjoy playing hockey and all that, so it's a great way to stay active and do that.
So, okay, where I was going with the Little Big Puck thing is, can you give us a little kind of breakdown of what it's for and what it does, if you can remember what it's all about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's always just been, well, it's years and years ago. I wouldn't even know. It's probably gone on for 30 years.
Yeah, 40 it's been around for a long time.
And it's just the Cowboys against the Indians. Simple as that. They've wanted them to change there when the woke deal was really on the go here 2 or 3 years ago. It can't be the Cowboys versus the Indians, and the Indians said, "No, screw you. That's how it is. It's the Cowboys. It's the Cowboys versus the Indians, and that's the deal. You got to have had a rodeo card, and you got to be a treaty Indian from the reserve here or in there. You're like connected to that, and yeah, it's just always to give it back to local charities. The big one last few years, they built a new hospital here in Maple Creek a few years ago and put it towards that lots, and they'll fill the rink and everybody play in third period. Cowboys dressed like Cowboys and Indians dressed like Indians, and it's just a fun charity game. It's you'd say it's not competitive, but you don't want to lose.
No, of course
it's
not.
like any hockey game. But
yeah,
it's lots of fun, and everybody meet up in the beer stand afterwards. It's a good thing, raises lots of money, and I like it's gone on for a long time. And yeah, it's about a Little Big Puck, Cowboys against Indians. It's simple as that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's coming up next month. If people want to check it out in the area or whatever, it's a cool thing.
Yeah,
I've always been
I think
interested in it.
I think it's maybe like the third Saturday in February, something
Yeah,
like that. February
21st or something. I
21st or
saw
something like that.
Joe shared something about it. I remember
Yeah,
looking
it's
at it
something like
there.
that in
Yeah,
there. Yeah, it's always like the third Saturday in February, I think.
awesome. Okay, a couple more things before I let you go here, Jared. Obviously, kind of this 2025 is up in the air, like kind of where you're gonna go, what you're gonna do. But is there anything in your career that's eluded you that you'd want to try and wrap up before you hang up your bull rope?
Yep, there's one thing. I've won the PBR Canada finals, but I've never won a PBR Canada title.
Oh.
Been knocked on the door quite a few times, been on the edge, and I think probably that I don't regret it for 1 second. Not I've
Hmm.
never went to very many of them here until last year. I hadn't gone for very many for a few years. Through that with the rodeo, and I said I don't regret that for 1 second. But it would be cool to win one of those before I quit. So we'll see. Who knows if luck will have it. If not, I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. But that would be a cool thing to hit.
Oh man, for sure. Especially now with the 100 gram bonus, like I can
Yeah,
win a ton of
and then
money.
that would pretty much complete everything for the most part up here for me.
Do you think it's a crazy stretch to say that we'll see a undisputed Canadian bull riding champion sometime soon, like when CPRA and PVR in the same year? Is that coming from for you? You've been in the trenches, you've been doing it. Like, is that an impossible thing to do? You think, or is it something that can happen?
No, I think if there's somebody dominant, it's the only thing that I think that'll make it impossible is there's so much opportunity outside, like in each association. So
Mm,
if you're that dominant in the rodeo and you want a rodeo, well, you'll be down south rodeoing. Like if
mm,
there's only so many bulls you can get on a year, and you got to try to stay healthy and everything. And if you're that dominant in the PBRs up here, whereas like now with the teams and everything, with the team deal, you're probably doing the team deal or something. It's gotten to the point where it's hard to overlap them both. I
yeah.
think I know it's been. I think it's probably feasible. Somebody could do it, but I don't foresee it happening because just like the opportunities that are beyond with both
Hmm.
sides that you'll be focusing on. Like if you're whipping them in the rodeo in here and you want a rodeo and you're rodeoing like that, you'll be down south going to some rodeos.
Hmm.
If you're that good a bull rider doing that, and if you're whipping them in PBRs doing that, well, there's going to be a team knocking on your door wanting to give you a
Yeah.
big contract to come to the team events. I think that's probably the only thing that'll hold it back. I know there were some years, there was a couple guys that were pretty close. I think I stood a pretty good chance the
Yeah, you
one
were
year
close
at it.
a couple of
One
years. You
year,
were like right in the
and
mix.
right in the mix, but it's a tough thing to do. It's a lot of bulls, and
Yeah,
you
no doubt.
got to have a few things go your way. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it never happens, honestly, because I think there's too much opportunity beyond south with each one. You can't unless somebody's really really good and decides they're if they and all the power to him. You take a guy like Nick winning that last year. If he decides he just wants to rodeo too, he'd probably win 100,000, 80,000 rodeo and 100,000 rodeo and whatever it may be, and
Hmm.
his 250, 300,000 PBRs win 300,000, 400,000
Oh
just going to
man.
bull riding in Canada. That's pretty wild too. So if that's what you want to do, all the power to you too. Like that's a good living that doesn't there's not much travel involved.
No. Well, I mean, hey, like I know you haven't set any goals for 2025 and you're planning to stick around close to home. I think you still got some game. You could be the undisputed
Game,
2025 champ.
things would have to go my way for sure. You never know; it's not possible. But I'm not going to go to all the events on each side.
Yeah, but I got
I'm not
you
going to
you
set the
you
record for
you're on the
events.
Jake Bold program. You can go to the minimum rodeo count and be third,
Well,
first, or be in the top five in Canada heading into the CFR
hopefully,
easy.
hopefully it stays that way. A guy gets older. The bull riding's a real wild card on that. You don't have some things go your way, you
Yeah,
might be
that's
ending
true.
up going to more. So I'm not saying a word on that because the second a guy thinks he can do something like that, you won't stand a chance to be able to do
Yeah,
something like
fair
that.
enough. Well, I'll be rooting for you nonetheless in 2025, man. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. And
Yeah.
it's
Well,
been good to
thanks for
catch up,
having me.
buddy. Yeah, you
Yeah,
betcha,
it's
man.
been good. I enjoyed it.
Cool, man. Okay, well, we'll catch up with you a little later, and yeah, we'll be back with a short round right after this.